Well, I was born in 1894 on my grandfather's rather sizable farm about where the Asheville School Lake is today. That's in West Asheville. My ancestors go back to 1700s in New Jersey. The Reverend William Tennent started a log college to train Presbyterian ministers. The school evolved into Princeton University. My grandfather, who was a country doctor, moved to Asheville in 1866 from Charleston to flee the carpetbaggers. My father didn't have much money, and there wasn't many educational facilities. He became an expert house painter, and his brother was a carpenter. In 1900, I was getting ready to go to school. I went to the Montfort School. I remember the first automobile in Asheville was a Buick Buckboard. I saw it on Montfort, a macadam road that was the widest and straightest in Asheville. The first radio broadcast was at the Masonic Lodge on Broadway. It was largely static. It originated in Richmond, Virginia. The first moving picture was the Great Train Robbery. It was shown in a tent at the intersection of Montfort and Haywood. The first paved street was Montfort and Cumberland. I went to Montfort School for 7 grades and then went to Asheville High School, which was the original Asheville High School. I was in the class of 1913 at Asheville High School. I then went to the University of North Carolina in 1914 and was elected class president. I was a strict AB English literature. I wrote a prize-winning poem on Shakespeare anniversary. I was editor of Daily Tar Heel, the college newspaper. I belonged to literary fraternities and was captain of the varsity basketball team. However, students from the eastern part of the state ran things, just like the politicians from the east are running things today. I worked my way through college. I waited tables, took up laundry, and worked the summers in Asheville. Lott Craig, governor of North Carolina, gave me a scholarship to finish college. It was Lott Craig who started calling me Buzz. At UNC, I was given Tom Wolfe to look after. It was a custom to assign a freshman to upperclassmen. I got him into nearly everything I could, including being elected to the Daily Tar Heel board. I recognized that he had talent. Tom wrote the book Look Homeward Angel in Asheville on Valley Street. There was a bitter reaction to the book when it was published in the 1930s. Tom wrote about his family and the people in Asheville. There is no question about it. The situations are in Asheville. The book is a master of descriptive literature. Tom was a masterful handler of the English language, a little verbose, but that's Tom Wolfe. I graduated from UNC in 1918 with an AB degree. I then entered the 4th Officers Training Corps at Camp Jackson. I was then transferred to Camp Hancock to study machine gun. I became a second lieutenant and machine gun instructor. After the Army, and having never played much in my teenage years, I put in a year in just playing. I organized the Asheville Cotillion and Dance Club. We organized some of the biggest entertainment events in Asheville. We brought in Light Saxophone Orchestra and W.C. Handy, the originator of the Memphis Blues. In 1922, I was elected king at Asheville's first community festival. It was the forerunner of the Rhododendron Festival. I went to work as a reporter for the Asheville Times in 1922. As a reporter, I seemed to get along with people. I rode on the fire truck and rode with the sheriff when he went on raids. My biggest story was the sale of Biltmore Village from the Biltmore estate to George Stevens, who was owner of the Asheville Citizen. While I was a reporter, I became acting city editor. I kept getting the best stories because I had confidence of the people in key positions. They would hold the stories for me. I resigned from the paper and got into the real estate business. The real estate boom was just beginning. I wanted to be part of it. I acquired a farm near the foot of Pisgah, and then the boom went bust. It was then that I went back into the landscape business full time. I was doing landscape on the side as a reporter. I landscaped the Buncombe County Courthouse. I drew the plan and sold the plants. They used convict labor to put them in. I landscaped many houses and businesses in and around Asheville. I drew the plan for landscaping at UNCA and planted some of the plants. Landscaping was successful for me even during the Depression. I had 1 or 2 people who had money and kept my business going. We called our business Tenant Gardens. We maintained places and did planning for new construction. In 1935, I had good standing in the community and was invited to join Rotary as the best representative of the profession. I became president in 1939-40, the silver anniversary. I became a district governor in 1943 and 44. I wrote a little when I was president. I wrote a little pamphlet on the little lessons in Rotary, merely to be helpful. It was published in 125 different countries and regions and quoted in numerous publications, magazines, books in 7 different languages. It is one of the most quoted books in Rotary. When I joined Rotary, I realized that people weren't in it to gain. They were in it to give. Not to get, to give. The basic concept of Rotary is unselfish service. Rotary calls it service above self, and it seems that it is a very high ideal that one could choose to motivate at his very being in life. When I became president, I wanted to do something remembered, so I organized a Rotary COG, the club bulletin. It's been quoted all over the world. It's made a name for itself. I also put the club records together. They were scattered all over Asheville. Another thing I did when I was president was start a drive for a Negro hospital. Rotary launched the movement. The first Negro hospital was built on the corner of Biltmore Avenue and the intersection of South Side. It was named the Asheville Colored Hospital. It was built in 1946. I was made district governor in 1943. The district was all of South Carolina and 14 clubs in western North Carolina. The duty of a governor is to help administer Rotary International and to keep a movement coordinated and oriented. I visited every club in the district and made a talk and held a club assembly. I traveled all over South Carolina, and no one had organized a new club in 10 years. They said that South Carolina wasn't growing. So I started an intensive drive for new clubs. I started 3 new clubs in 6 months. So the next year, Rotary International made me chairman of the Extension Committee for Eastern United States. In 1948, I served as first vice president of Rotary International and continued to serve as chairman twice of the Rotary International Finance Committee. I became president in 1957. I traveled widely, largely over Europe, Africa, South America, Central America, and North America. I tried to go places where no president had never been. As president of Rotary, your principal duty is to be a top-flight goodwill ambassador to all the various segments of Rotary. You preside over the Rotary Board of Trustees as chairman to give it its leadership. It's a full-time job. I returned to Asheville only 3 times during the first 9 months. I was decorated by the governor of Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, made honorary mayor of 15 cities, honorary citizen of Texas and Florida, and every kind of colonel you could think of. Flying Delta Colonel, Kentucky Colonel, Arkansas Traveler Colonel. I also planted friendship trees in all the places I visited. I planted 2 in New York Central Park. You can see them there today. After serving as president, I came back to Asheville and my Rotary Club and business. One day, I received a call from the New York Times. They wanted to speak to me. They wanted to know what I was doing after retiring from Rotary. I said, well, I've already done it. I'm just going back to get down into the ground and dig plants with the rest of my men. They said, well, that's news. I never heard any more from it or whether they published it or not. On February 22nd, 1979, Charles Buzz Tennent died at the age of 84. After an accomplished life, he once said, I think, down in my heart, I always wanted to dig in the dirt.